Hello and welcome to Data Driven, the podcast where we explore the emerging fields of data science, machine learning, and artificial intelligence. In this episode, Frank offers some encouragement for people hoping for a better year in 2021. This episode was originally recorded on an impromptu livestream and, in a delightful surprise, Andy was able to join.
Good morning, LinkedIn, Twitch, YouTube, Periscope, and of course, Data Driven and Frank's World TV channels on Facebook. Just wanted to say Happy New Year. This is actually my second or third live stream of 2021, but is the first one on an actual work day. For a lot of folks, this is when the rubber meets the road. When we finally, get off the vacation, kids go back to school. Although this year, I suppose it's it's school is whatever you make it to be. But I just wanted to offer a couple words of encouragement and just a quick reminder of, let's make this thing happen. I'm just making a note of the time because LinkedIn prefers that you have a 15-minute minimum live stream. So logged into my email. I have to admit, I logged into my email more than I should have when I was supposed to be off. But logged into my work email today and sent a few things out. And before I had meetings, before the madness begins, I wanted to do a live stream. I actually I want to start doing these, and let me know in the comments if these are good ideas to kind of like do these more regularly. I want to kick up the whole notion of the show of high impact Tuesdays with the idea that, Mondays is kind of when, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face, right? Like Mike Tyson said. And so the idea I had would be high impact Tuesdays, which I'm going to start up tomorrow, would be like, all right, you've been punched in the face, you had a plan. Now what? That's when you can really leverage the, your week to have that impact. So with that, a couple of things. One, I need more coffee. And the reason why I wanted to do it today was because this is the Monday of all Mondays, right? We spent the last 2 weeks at least kind of reveling in the holidays, getting ready, rushing around, and you kind of have that interim time period of just absolute madness, at least in my family, because I'm sorry, hold on, getting some chat messages here. Sorry. My family, my kids have birthdays in the middle of December. They're one day away from being 5 years apart. So you can imagine the chaos that is. In a normal year, we usually go, do something fun for them. But this year, we're kind of stuck. And being stuck at home with the kids, I'm sure a lot of people have realized that can be very stressful. And the important thing is that, I tried to really shut off, focus on reading, focusing on some planning for 2021, some ideas that my co-host on Data Driven, Andy, and I have put together. Actually, Andy is online, so I'll ping him. And then it'll be a proper data-driven show. Maybe it'll appear in the. Hey, there he is. All right, Andy, let me send you the link, and you can be on the show. And all right. Hey, Sarah. Yes, let's rock the data world. This is going to be a year. I mean, who knows what's going to happen with the pandemic? I can't predict the future, but typically it takes about 1 to 2 winters for a pandemic to kind of wear itself out. And remember, it's summer in the Southern Hemisphere. So depending on who you believe, this is, let's see, I think I see Andy. His video's not on. Hey, Andy.
Hey, Frank.
Happy New Year, Andy.
Happy New Year, brother. I had the little flap covering the camera down. So
okay.
That's it. And I just said yes without realizing that I'm in my kind of work comfort shirt here. I usually put on a collared shirt.
I'm in a hoodie.
Are you? Well,
Yeah.
then I guess we're okay. This is actually, you can't really see it from there, but this is a shirt from a mission trip.
Oh, cool.
So so I love enjoy doing those sorts of things. Hope to do some more of those, but I'm getting older.
Well, and eventually the lockdown's going to be lifted at some point.
I'm optimistic. I heard some of your intro here before I joined you. Thank you, by the way, for letting me join you.
Oh, no problem.
And we do separate streams. Frank and I do, for those watching, and then we do them together just every chance we get. Mm-hmm. And it's not a bad thing at all. It's we have different schedules. Frank has a real job. He has a day job, as I like to call it. I'm an independent consultant, and that comes and goes, so it just depends. But yeah, you're right. The new year, the first working Monday of the year, and
I call it Super Monday.
Super Monday is a good term for that.
And then there's Awful Tuesday, which is the first Tuesday after Labor Day.
That's a good label. You could do a whole week of these.
That's cool.
I
like that. Awful Tuesday.
Well, what I didn't hear, and I think I jumped in and I was checking different services to make sure you were streaming, because you asked me, you said something about one of them not streaming, and
right.
I caught you at the end of one also yesterday, maybe, or the day before. I forget.
Yeah, but, I'm committed to streaming more this year.
Good.
Good. Just because it just seems like. And Sarah wishes you a happy New Year, by the way.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you. Yeah,
Sarah's
see that.
Awesome. Sarah and I did a live stream. We should probably get her back on. We should probably get her on the show as a proper guest.
Really?
And then because she's doing some interesting stuff. She's also made the transition from kind of regular developer to data scientist, and she's doing some interesting stuff. I know she got a new gig last year.
Oh, okay.
And she's doing some real interesting stuff. And she's also what fascinates me. She has a couple of kids, and she's a 2-engineer family. So
wow, that's hard.
We have some.
So that's like 3 kids.
Maybe 4. I don't know.
Well, I'm saying,
but yeah. So it's interesting when you have a 2-engineer family, and it was like, it's not totally common, at least not yet, but it definitely has some challenges. I'll put it that way.
Totally agree. Frank, you were saying, and what I didn't catch on this stream, I just heard you in the introduction saying that you wanted to do this today for some reason. So what is it that you wanted to do today? I'm curious. I kind of jumped on.
Speaking of being an engineer, Squirrel. Sarah was a regular developer, and I mean that in the best way, Sarah. Like, really,
yeah.
I was a regular developer. I mean, for heaven's sake, let me see if I can maximize my screen. I'm trying to get better at this interface. That right there's the tablet license plate I had from when I was a tablet PC MVP. So 2 kids, 1 techie husband, lots of Raspberry Pis, and chaos. Yes, I dig it. So it is kind of like, 2, maybe 4 kids. I don't know. But yes, shout out to Tara. Yes, I actually have a new, good thing you pointed that out. I actually have a new Twitter handle because I realized I was kind of like a part of the whole, Andy and I do this thing. I started it about 4 years ago, where my new year is, I'm doing a lot of the air quotes today, is that my new year is switched to November 1st. There's many reasons for that. One of them was that 1 year, a few years back, was just so horrible. Concussion. My mom was sick. The cat died. Lost my job. Like it was like a country music song. I mean, so I switched my Twitter handle from Tableteer, and I actually updated. Here we go. The graphics to Frank Diggs Data. That's my new handle.
Yep.
So so apparently now I'm going to test this out. I'm trying to be more experimental with these streams, and so far the experiments have worked out. So I'm going to see if I can get the chat up on the screen. So we're gonna try that out. So anyway, the reason why I wanted to do the live stream today was because this is kind of a hard Monday, because I end up having a lot of user lose leave, as does my wife, and we have 2 kids, 2 birthdays in December, back to back, then Christmas. So basically after Thanksgiving, like it's all about the first 2 weeks of December, kind of sorting everything out so I can kind of bolt for 2 weeks. And then, and then we had in the middle of it this year, though, we had another COVID scare. So my youngest goes to daycare, and they had one of the parents came down with something. And so they had to close up. And so I had the kindergartner here doing kindergarten, like right there. And it was hard to focus. But then my father-in-law came down with something, but wasn't COVID, thank God. So it's just, it's 2020 was the gift that kept on giving. And I know you had some challenges too.
Definitely.
But the reason why I want to live stream today is because I feel inspired, right? I've been listening to this new book. It's Your Next 5 Moves by Patrick.
I'm glad you mentioned that.
It is incredible. Like,
who's it by?
Patrick Bet David.
Okay.
Patrick B-E-T David.
Okay. I am on Audible even now.
Which, if you're up on your ancient Semitic languages, Bet means house of. So he is Patrick of the House of David. Just a little trivia there.
Interesting.
And I could totally go on a sidetrack on linguistics, but I'm going to resist it. I am going to resist it.
It's funny you say that. One of my favorite books is about linguistics.
Oh, really?
And one of my favorite short stories is also there's okay. Thanks for the link, Sarah.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah. So I'll check that out. I just popped over to Audible and I subscribe. By the way, you can help us a little and help the show a little if you go to thedatadrivenbook.com. Audible is a sponsor, and we get a little bit. You get a free book. We get a little bit out of there, out of that as well. Thanks, Frank, for putting that up.
No problem.
And so yeah, but it was my favorite short story was the short story behind the movie Arrival.
Oh, interesting.
And that author is an interesting character. You could go back, but one of the things he did was it's an incredible deep dive in linguistics. I was popping up dictionary.com. I'm reading my Kindle and I was over here going, all right, what does that mean? And as Frank, you and I both write a lot. I mean, you blog, right. You've written books, you're published. And so, it's a fascinating thing for us anywhere where we wouldn't do it. But yeah, linguistics is.
I love languages. It kind of runs in the family. My my paternal, like through no, my maternal paternal grandfather. So he'd be my great grandfather. He was he actually spoke 8 languages, and he was a professor of 6.
Wow.
So like the language gene kind of runs in the family, and like I noticed that in my family, like my grandmother, my maternal grandmother spoke Gaelic, although she really spoke English, but she would pray in Gaelic, in Latin.
It's interesting.
And then my other parts of the family, were also either bilingual in French or Gaelic. So like I grew up hearing all these languages, of course, growing up in New York. So I was always fascinated by languages, and I took German in high school. And honestly, it was like the easiest subject for me, which is kind of weird. People don't use the word German and easy in the same sentence very often. But for me, it was kind of cool because I understood English grammar. I was horrible at English grammar. And I went to a Catholic elementary school, and they take grammar very seriously there.
Sure.
But it was interesting because like I learned German. It's like, oh, that's why you use who and whom. Like it makes more sense now.
Right.
English is a Germanic language that kind of and French stuff kind of like spilled in, and here we are.
Right.
Which is why language is so crazy. So Lauren Keeson, good morning, Lauren. I like if folks are like actually taking time out of their day to watch, I would like to recognize them, even if it derails the conversation slightly.
look, we're a collection of derailed conversations, snippets,
True.
just kind of put together. So squirrels everywhere, and we're happy with that.
So on my experimental
question.
live stream, I'll get to Sarah's question in a second. In my
Okay.
experimental live stream, what I did while the kids were in karate and stuff, I was expounding on my kind of this life philosophy that I've kind of recently uncovered upon self-reflection, and was the notion that, you know, chaos theory is basically, so you think about a system, and I've been studying a lot of physics and stuff like that. So I've been in the middle of reading this one too.
Cool.
And quantum computing, which is probably why I kind of hit the limit of what my quantum computing knowledge is to talk about on a show. So we really do need to line up some guests. So if you're watching, you know, quantum people, hit me up. So I was talking about chaos and theory, and one of the things I heard, because I went to Fordham University, a Jesuit university. Jesuits are big on philosophy, as much as they are on any other topic. I think they actually do take theology, philosophy, and then whatever their specialty is going to be, whether it's you know, computer science or whatever. So one of the things I heard was we're talking about physics, and it was like talking about chaos and entropy, and entropy being the state of absolute chaos, and order being the state of zero chaos, right? So, or zero entropy. And one of the things that blew my mind as a college student was hearing the notion that, well, we know from personal experience that 100% order is not stable, right? I can show you around my office. I could take the camera, show you around my office. And I can show you that despite cleaning it, it is in a bit of state of chaos. But what's fascinating is
it's the green screen.
Well, yeah, that's right. You're behind the green screen.
I'm hiding. So, yes.
But one of the interesting things I heard that blew my mind was, well, you would think everything would slide into absolute entropy, wouldn't you? And we're all kind of like, yeah, but it hasn't. That's because absolute entropy isn't stable either.
Oh, wow.
So therefore, and I didn't get a degree in philosophy, I had a degree in comp sci. The thing that blew my mind was hearing that, you know, in other words, order is an emergent state of chaos, as is chaos is an emergent state of order.
What, you know, Frank, there's videos out there that show this. It's a property of physics where you have these things that are operating out of sync. And I can't remember exactly what.
Oh, I know what it's called.
The swinging balls and stuff like that on a string. And they get into, say, it's exactly what you just described.
Right.
They're chaotic
Emergence?
at first.
Is it emergence or is it synchronous something?
It may be that, but it does, that order does emerge from that state, and it's natural. And
so that basically describes my life. With the 5 dogs, the 2 kids, the 2 engineer family. That's basically my life. So I've kind of made peace with the chaos.
Nice.
But it was interesting because, like, you know, it kind of touches on some other things. You know, there you had the cosmic void and all this entropy, but you know, the planets, you know, matter collapses into stars. They explode, planetary debris become planets. I mean, it's one of those things that really stopped and gave me pause. And here we are, X number of years later, you know, still pondering that, or at least me. And now I'm sharing that mind virus with you.
It's cool.
So Sarah asks, does my love of linguistics carry over to programming languages? Yeah, I think so. I like to think that I was able to successfully monetize my love of languages. You know, one of the things I wanted to do when I was looking at going to college is studying linguistics. But again, my parents made it very clear: doctor, lawyer, engineer, or enlist. Right? Those were my post-high school choices. You know, linguistics didn't really follow that, but programming, I mean, let's be real. Like, if you know one programming, there's this whole debate about who's a real programmer. You're a real programmer if you do this. You're a real programmer. As soon as you start slinging code, in a sense, you're a programmer, right?
Yeah.
But it's also, the downside of that is, just because I swing a hammer does not make me a carpenter, right? True. You would not want me building your kitchen cabinets unless they were from IKEA and I had instructions to follow. But that's another sidetrack. But the short of it is that if you want to be kind of a craftsman level, I hate that term because that's been hijacked too. But if you really want to be a pro level programmer, right, and you want to have a longevity in the career, you want to have longevity in the field, you can't just know JavaScript, right? You can't just know Python, right. And you really have to craft your skills and continually improve to the point where languages are languages, right? There's a syntax, there's a, you just get a feel for the languages. And ultimately it's not about the programming language per se. It's about the message you're trying to get across, algorithm, right?
Right.
Computer science. That's what I think. So I like to think that I'm the first person since my great grandfather was a professor to monetize their love of linguistics.
Yeah.
So we have another comment from LinkedIn user.
And it's actually Mena, I think.
Oh, okay.
I just replied, and I'm not sure if that's the right pronunciation.
Oh, cool. And apparently Restream has also managed to make it so you can write somebody. I did it from LinkedIn. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's good to know. So try this book by Carlo Rovelli. The title is Order of Time. Awesome. Okay. I have two Audible credits that are burning a hole in my pocket, but I can't put this book by Patrick Bet-David down. I mean, it's awesome. Like he's kind of, he's originally from Tehran, but he grew up in LA, but my God, does he have a New York accent? Like, I don't know what it is. Like, but like he's kind of like a bit like Grant Cardone, maybe a little bit more mellow. But it's really good. Like he talks about how he went from being kind of I don't want to spoil it, but it was really cool. Like he didn't do really well in high school. He had a lot of issues in high school. He had a lot of issues, and he ended up being invited to his high school reunion. And one of the guidance counselors who told him he wouldn't amount to anything was like, oh, so you're here to see the guest speaker, like, or the motivational speaker that we're having today for the school or whatever, because he just didn't say anything. He was the motivational speaker.
Oh, that's funny.
So yeah, he has a lot of interesting stories. His YouTube channel is called Infotainment. Check it out. Okay. I mean, it's just good. I've always been a fan of his videos. He kind of explains things, breaks things down pretty well. He has an interesting, everything he says is kind of like, I hadn't thought of it that way. And I love authors that do that. They're like, yeah, I hadn't thought about it that way. And he's actually achieved some interesting milestones. He's in the private jet club and stuff like that. And, it was pretty good. Like I'm enjoying it because it's like, oh, and he talks about strategy, how to plan out your next 5 moves. And, and he talks about, he basically kind of parallels it. And if you look at the cover art, it's chess. And he parallels it that, true chess grandmasters plan their moves 15 moves out. And in business, like he said that there's a kind of this threshold of about 5 moves is about that sweet spot of being able to be agile and not getting lost in analysis paralysis, which again, since there's a lot of engineers on the call, I think we can all relate to that.
There we go. Yeah. Valuetainment. Okay.
Valuetainment. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you, Sarah.
Yes.
Sarah's cool because she keeps us honest. He has a good Instagram account too. I've been doing more with Instagram. Okay. So one of the other things that I don't think we've talked about on the show was or any live stream is I've actually, during the middle of the pandemic, I actually got into archery.
Yep, I've been following you on Instagram and all of your you and I believe it's been Ben out there shooting a lot.
Yep,
and getting better. I've noticed lots more.
Really good at it. Like he still gets discouraged because but it's one of those things where he'll shoot and he'll hit it, and then he'll be like, then he'll miss it and he'll be like, oh, I'm terrible at this. I'm like, dude, you've shot in like. We got your bow like in December. Like this is right. This is not this is not, you know. So fun story. I actually got into archery when I was in Germany. We had a company kind of team building event, and I liked it. Like, it was just target shooting, and I remember the one guy who said, he assumed, what's funny is, like, people assume if you're American you don't speak German. So, like, he would just basically say, yeah, I don't expect anyone here to actually hit the bullseye, like, at all. So I heard that. I'm like, oh, it's on. So I didn't hit him the first try, but in the first, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 arrows, I did actually manage to land in the middle ring. Not dead center bullseye, but good enough. So
that's great.
He was like, so then I kind of figured out, like, hey, I might actually have a talent for this. And then I shot a few more times after that. And then I kind of, again, it's a squirrel, shiny object ran by. Sure. And so when we were on vacation in West Virginia, I saw a sign that said, archery. And I'm like, it'd be cool to do that. So I bring my oldest son. He was kicking and screaming because he didn't want to, he'd probably rather be streaming something or playing video games. So I'm like, come on, just come with me. You do it once. It's 45 minutes to an hour out of your life.
Right.
So we do it, and kind of a lot of it comes back to me after like a few minutes, and then he actually figures out he actually enjoys it too. Like, nice. And so then we come back, and then they start school, and then I finally just say, you know what, let's get a bow for each of us. So the 5-year-old, now 6-year-old, has a kind of like a little bow. It's only like a 5-10 pound draw. My older son can't shoot right-handed, so he has a recurve.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's the term. So recurve. So they're both recurves.
Okay.
And I have a compound.
Nice.
So mine is kind of so this is the thing, right? So when you get into archery, I have a newfound appreciation. One might even say empathy for folks who get into data science the first way, because you look online, I just want a bow and arrow, I want to shoot, I want to target. We have the land to do it. It's quiet, right? Like, it's not like shooting guns.
Right.
I could probably do it in my old neighborhood where I grew up, and no one would really notice. But that's anyway. Sidetrack.
Squirrel.
But so, set up a target. So, but there's a whole. I mean, archery has been around. I mean, at least 40,000 years, right? Every culture on Earth has some form of archery. Before they even knew each other existed. So there has to be. So it's this fascinating thing. There's a whole, again, squirrel, right? There's a very deep YouTube hole if you wanted to go down and kind of discover kind of the history of archery. But because of that, there's a lot of nuances and a lot of stuff and phrasing that is just, ancient. I had no idea what a knock was. Like, what's a knock? So, and just learning to get kind of what a decent bow would be to start out with.
Right.
Because, I know I'm probably going to be shooting for just as a hobby for a while. So I would be kind of okay getting an expensive bow. But like, I went to like a local sporting goods store or archery shop, and they're like, oh yeah, you should get this, you should get this. And basically by the time everything that we said and done, it'd be about $800 per person.
My goodness.
To get started.
That's expensive to get started.
Yeah. Yes, it can be, but it turns out that I just basically the place we went to in West Virginia, I was asking them, like, if I wanted to buy a bow. She's like, this would be a good starter kit. I mean, it's not, but it was $200.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
That's what I got. Yeah. So I got that for
myself.
I figured my older son and I could share that, but when he's left-handed, so I'm right-handed, so we can't share it. The way each part of the bow has like its own term and stuff like that. Yeah. I don't pretend to know it all.
There's strings that cross on the side opposite that you want to shoot with.
Right,
so
right.
You want to hold it with one hand. If you're right-handed, you hold the bow part with your left.
Right.
And then there's strings over to the right of the actual shooting string.
Exactly.
And pulleys. So that's why, for our listeners doing it. I did a little bit, Frank. I actually did some bow hunting.
Oh, cool.
And I'm considering getting back into it. So I may join you with that.
Cool.
I miss hunting. I haven't hunted in decades. I did when I was a kid. I killed my first deer with a 12 gauge shotgun when I was 12 years old. And the throw on that, it was like 29 paces. And one of the shot hit the deer's hoof and one hit a horn. It was at 29 paces. If you can imagine, that's like a 5-foot spread. That's like shooting those old bugle.
Yeah, I was gonna say that seems like a lot.
1600s. Yeah. Oh yeah. You want a nice tight. But I was given the shotgun I was lent at that time. It was the first time I'd ever really shot a shotgun. It had tape on the stock, holding the stock, get a crack on the stock. Nobody expected me to fire. And the deer walked right down that close to me and stopped right in front of me, Frank. So yeah, it was that deer's time. I got it. A couple went in the heart, a couple in the lungs. It dropped. But, doing that, bow hunting, I think, is even more sports, sports.
That's what I hear.
Sportsman-like, sporty. I don't know what the right term is, but it's more, person, again, you're human against the animal naturally, a little more naturally. I guess if you carved your own bow and wove your own, string, that it would be even more. But yeah, and I had a bow like that when I did hunting. I never got a deer with a bow, but I had one. It was like 250, I think. Now this was 25, 30 years ago, and it was nice. It was a good compound bow and stuff. One of my younger brothers, huge outdoorsman. There's a picture of him from again decades past, where he's holding the deer that he got with the bow. The arrow, Frank, is coming in at nearly a 45-degree angle.
Oh, wow.
And you look at that and you go, well, did he throw it? And it turned out that he is an extreme marksman. Wow. And his name is Mark, but that doesn't help him be a marksman. It turned out his telling of the tale was, he was in the woods. I had a tree here. I had a tree here, farther away. And the deer, if I wanted to drop the deer, I needed I needed to hit him at the base of the skull. I needed to hit him there to drop the deer. And he shot that far. I can't tell you how far it was. Far enough to where the angle to hit the deer made it come in at that steep of an angle.
So for those of you that are thinking that archery is all about hunting, it's not.
It's not.
I have no plans on hunting. Like, it's not on my.
Well, I was going to offer it, Frank. You may change your mind.
I might change my mind, particularly if there's another apocalypse. Who knows?
Learning how to feed yourself, Frank, is that's a thing. I mean, we're doing more gardening. We built a greenhouse that's in cool. The during the pandemic, and so I mean, those are reasons for that. I see a lot of people.
I'm not knocking it, but
I knew that. I was just saying.
And I'm streaming to Twitter too, so clearly there's probably going to be a lot of anger. But
Frank does not endorse.
I find it very meditative. I have a very kind of. I find it very meditative.
Yeah.
Okay, go out there, and I can focus on one thing. Take a deep breath, pull back, and draw. I get instant feedback. Did I hit what I wanted to hit? Did I not? For me, it's very meditative, and I actually have data to prove it, because I think I showed you my resting heart rate.
Right.
Dropped since getting it and doing kind of almost a daily practice. Nice. Dropped considerably. Like,
that's great, Frank.
I don't know if it was other things, but it definitely. I feel better. I feel more rested and more philosophical. So types of archery. Sarah's awesome. She keeps us honest. Yeah, there's a bunch of different types. Like I said, there is a YouTube hole you can go down. What's really cool is I can't think of his name, but Brian Bushwood. He interviewed a bunch of historical reenactors. So there's the English longbow. There's but the Mongol, the kind of the folks of the steppe had their own unique bows.
Neat. And
he kind of goes in that, and basically he has people. He shows a demonstration of this Mongol and Hungarian tribes, like reenactments of like shooting stuff from a horse in motion, and it's nice. It's pretty intense. And then there's the Olympic style bows, where they're like these crazy things, and you can shoot a target from like 50 feet. Then there's this other guy who's I think he started off as a historian, warfare historian, who researched like kind of how archery was used in warfare. And like you hear these stories and like, why would they do that? That's not so the way we think of archery today with Robin Hood and stuff like that. There was actually this technique that he demonstrates. I tried it, I failed, by the way, where you hold the next arrow like in your hand as you draw, and then you immediately go back, knock it, draw, shoot again. So he's actually able to fire off like 3 rapid shots. Like,
wow,
it's impressive. And then there's some other lady who took his techniques and like, but she has it on the thing. She's able to like do this in like, like, I don't know, maybe like 4 or 5 rounds a minute. Like it's just impressive.
Yeah.
And be accurate. Like that's
right.
kind of the thing. So
yeah, it does you no good if you're not accurate.
Right. Probably does more harm than good. But I don't know.
You're ready for
interesting.
You're ready for the Hunger Games.
Oh, so that's the real back on the main track here, right? It's like source code branching, right? Back to the main branch here is the idea. I mean, this is a rough Monday for a lot of folks. I actually was on a thing, and this one guy's like, "Oh, let's have a meeting today," and I'm like, "Cool," because I have a deadline on Friday. I'm like, "All right, set something up," and then he sends me like this meeting invite for like 2 weeks from now. Like, as I'm writing him like on Teams, like, "Are you sure?" Like, he sends me a corrected thing, and he's like, "Oh yeah, sorry, I need more coffee," and I'm like, "I hear you." So don't feel bad. I think a lot of folks, after kind of having the whole holiday kind of like ease off on work, and then they expect that the first day back is going to be this awesome, glorious experience. It's usually not. I think they get discouraged. So part of why I wanted to do this live stream today was to kind of say, you know what, ease into it. It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Absolutely.
So that's
a good message, Frank. That's a very good message.
Awesome. I try to have a positive message.
That's positive.
And I'm so happy that we are actually streaming on LinkedIn Live, because I was a little worried, because one of the things on I did a stream yesterday and it didn't appear on LinkedIn. I'm like, and I think I had a stream that I did outside on the mobile, which worked out pretty well.
Okay.
But I was like, well, I did it for 13 minutes, and it was really, if you watch towards the end, there was a reason why I had to stop, because the kids were going crazy. But LinkedIn has this thing like, you should, your stream should be a minimum of 15 minutes. So yeah, I was a little worried about that, but
gotcha.
But apparently it was just a glitch.
Well, that happened to me. We talked about it.
Yeah, you've had that too.
But I think in Restream, all I did was just drop it and reapply it.
I was going to do that today if it didn't work, honestly.
Yeah, it's working. I'm watching it right here.
Cool. So Bill Ryan's an awesome guy. He goes back to the tablet tier days, like pretty early on. I have to check this out. There's definitely some of that stuff I want to play with more. The ggplot, and Charticulator.
Yeah.
Sarah's awesome.
Thanks, Sarah.
Bill Ryan does some interesting things too. He's one of the guys that, in addition to you, encouraged me to get into data science.
Cool.
Because we kind of had a similar regular developer background.
Right.
And a lot of the same technologies too, like Windows Mobile and that sort of thing. And Bill's done some interesting stuff. Bill's very humble, but he's done some fascinating stuff. He even had an email exchange with Steve Ballmer.
Oh wow!
To get him to talk about that. No, man.
Maybe we can get him on the show.
Man. Bill, you're the man.
We should get you on the show, Bill.
Oh, we totally should, because I know he's doing some interesting stuff in the data science world, and he was chief data scientist and kind of a big deal at some company that got hit pretty hard by the pandemic. So I don't know. I keep calling him to like catch up with him, but keep going to voicemail. But I'm one to talk, man. I'm one to talk. I'm bad about answering my phone. Because usually when I pick up my phone, it becomes scam likely. It's like, okay, my phone is useless as a phone now.
That's not very nice.
What?
That's not very nice, Frank, to call
What?
it. Say a phone is as useless as a phone.
The phone is as useless as a phone. That's funny. Charticulator. Oh, I didn't know it's an MS research project. Interesting.
I didn't know that either. Cool.
One of the cool things that being a Blue Badger has is access to the Microsoft Research Journal, which is this internal only publication by Microsoft Research. And there's a heavy AI component to it, but I'll have to check that out. Plus MLADS was all virtual, so I should probably go check those videos as well. But
Very cool.
Awesome. Yeah, Bill, don't worry about it. Just shoot me an email. We'll get on the schedule. Speaking of scheduling, we really got to up our game on that, because like I have 3 calendars that I have to care about, and we're trying to figure out how to sync them up as a family, because like my wife has her own work calendar. I have my work calendar. I have my Gmail calendar. So we end up having these multiple alerts because we'll put something. I don't know. If anyone else out there in the internet webs has figured that out, let me know. Because that is something I struggle with. Because one of the podcasting agent person emailed us just before the holidays, and it's like, yeah, let's have him on the show, this person, and he's like, great, send me a Calendly link. I'm like, and then I looked at it, I'm like, oh, this is awesome, but I have like 3 calendars I have to take into account. So my wife will put kids activities on hers. Sometimes it'll get over to mine because of her work restrictions, and first world problems indeed, but still a logistical challenge.
One of the nice things about having a consulting company and and managing the accounts is I gave Christy an account as well at at the business, and I gave her full access to my calendar, and I just tell her if it's not on my calendar, these days it's really hard to actually it's easier these days than it was because we're less busy.
Right.
But when we were busy,
travel to coordinate.
That is so true. Yeah.
So
and
Sarah,
I kind of like it. But Sarah said
shared Google Calendar.
Yeah.
I've heard of that, but what I want to do, and I don't know if this is possible, is it possible to kind of dump all my stuff into that Google Calendar automatically and have my wife's stuff dump in there, so we do work from one source of truth. I'm a big fan of the notion of one source of truth, but definitely we got to have Bill on the show. We got to have Sarah on the show.
It's a couple
Andy and I are planning some interesting projects that we're not really going to talk about publicly. Although, in the light of what Patrick Bet David says, we probably should plan out our next 5 moves.
I think we've planned out our next 1 move, which is meet and plan 4 more moves.
Right. Exactly.
That's as far as we've gotten so far.
That reminds me of the old Nikita Khrushchev story.
Yeah.
He's like, he handed his successor 2 letters. He goes, first envelope, open this when you find yourself in big trouble and you don't know what to do. Open this letter. And then the second time that happens, open this letter. Right. So he finds I forget who the successor was, but he finds himself in big trouble, and he opens up the first letter. He reads it. He goes, okay, blame everything on me, and say you're gonna have a plan forward. So he does that. It worked. Crisis averted. Soon enough, this guy gets into another situation, and he's like, well, I guess it's time to open the second letter. And he opens it. Well, thanks for reading the second letter. Now it's time for you to sit down and write 2 letters.
That's funny.
I don't know why that just reminded me.
That is so funny.
One of the things I want to do is kind of talk more about our virtual, voiceover artist and kind of the story behind that and stuff like that, and build her out more as a character. I think that'd be cool.
Well, we could do a show, devoted to that. Frank.
I was thinking we should do 3 things devoted towards kind of fan requests that have happened. 1, you interview me, like the questions we have,
and
then vice versa. And then we can interview, the virtual character Bailey, which she has a name. I don't know if I mentioned that officially yet, but
I don't know if you mentioned it on air, but yes.
Right.
See you, Bill.
See you, Bill. Thanks for joining. Bill's awesome. He's a great guy. We hung out. We knew each other from like 2003, 2004, early .NET community type days, and then we hung out every time there was like a major code camp or whatever. Back when you could travel in person, we hung out at when I went to MEDC, Mobile Embedded Developer Conference in 2006. We hung out like the whole week. We had a blast. And I think I had just met my wife at the time. So I was texting back and forth with my wife while we were hanging out in Vegas, because that was my first trip to Vegas. So I had no idea like how big these hotels were and stuff. And it was just like, she'd never been to Vegas. So I'm like, I'd be talking to her on the phone, early days of courting, as they say. And I'm like, she goes, "Oh, are you at the conference center yet?" "No, I'm not." And she's like, "Wait, you've been walking for 15 minutes. And I was like, it really is that big out here. Like, it's just ridiculous. Like, you can walk all day and not go outside.
Right. The hotels and the conference centers, are connected, and they span blocks.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
If you've never had the chance to go out, it's kind of cool. I've been out a couple of times, not many, but mostly and it's, in fact, every time it's been for conferences. I've never gone to Vegas.
Most people, I would say most people, but a lot of people tend not to go to Vegas because they don't have to, because some tech conference will send them there anyway, right? It's like, there was one year I went there twice in 2 months.
Wow.
Or actually more to the point, twice in 5 weeks.
Goodness.
That's a lot of Vegas.
Yeah.
And I remember the first time I went there, I'm like, I didn't stay at the conference hotel all the nights. I think I only was able to get 3 nights at the conference rate. And I remember, this hotel is just 2 blocks away. Yeah, 2 blocks in Vegas is not 2 blocks in New York City, right? It's like
not the same, for sure.
It's like 4 avenue blocks. And native New Yorkers know exactly what I'm talking about. But in 110 degree heat, 0
it's a dry heat though, Frank.
It is, but like you end up, it is more tolerable, I will give it that, but you end up basically being completely dehydrated in about 20 minutes. It's amazing. And then you have this fine film of salt on your face. But with that, I have to run. I have some meetings I got to catch up to, and I love doing these live streams. I plan on. I'll make myself accountable. I'll do 2 things here, Andy, to make myself more accountable, so I can max out the year.
I like your hat.
Isn't that awesome?
That's awesome.
I love that podcast, Ed Milet. Really good show.
Yeah. Did he send you? He sent you something.
He did. I don't have it on now, but I got the hoodie. And then because I got the hoodie, I'm like, I really like the hat, but I won the hoodie. The hoodie's like $45. I'm like, well, I'm gonna get that on the prize. And then just because I felt bad and I really wanted this one, I bought this straight out. So one of the things is that I lost a lot of weight in 2019 to 2020, but I found some of it again. So I was like, on Saturday on the live stream, I said, like, you know what? I'm going to get back into my rhythm of 20-hour fasting, 4 hours to eat. And actually so far since then, I managed to do it. So
awesome, Frank. Awesome.
And then I also want to do more of these live streams. Like, it's just, I think I get a lot of energy from it. I like interacting with people, particularly since we're all kind of locked down anyway. I like it. I think it's a great way to create content.
Sure.
I just love it. Like, and catching up with Bill and Sarah, and obviously you, and some other folks that drop in. I think it's cool. It's cool. And now I have another book to check out. This Order.
Yes, we'll do that. The Order of Time.
But yeah, so that's the other thing. It's like, one, I've actually managed to do that. When I was doing obviously talk to your doctor and stuff like that, but intermittent fasting works for me. I connected my continuous glucose monitor again.
Okay.
I'm all about the data. So like, come on. So I get my real-time blood sugar measurement.
That's awesome, Frank.
So this helps
Mine
stay
is not
focused.
that low.
Hmm?
Mine is not that low.
Well, I mean, so when you do intermittent fasting and you have to work up to doing 20 hours.
Right.
I accidentally, speaking of Vegas, I actually managed to pull a 24-hour fast once by accident. That was my first fast. Wow. So ultimately, I didn't eat breakfast. I had an early flight. And I don't think it was an early flight. In any case, I ended up basically not eating. I had an opportunity to eat because I had a connecting flight in Detroit, but everything was not keto. And I was trying to be honest on keto.
Yeah.
And the only thing I found was like a bag of pecans, but everybody wanted $9 for the pecans. Now, even though I was on, travel and I could have expensed it, I'm like, it's $9 for a thing of pecans like this big, like not even a round thing. It was just a flat, like chips container.
That's a lot.
Crisps for you folks in the UK. I'm like, just on principle, I'm not paying that. I use some colorful words. So I'm like, so then my flight, I had to get my flight, and of course it was to Detroit airport. So it's like a 45-minute walk to the next gate. I was just in principle not going to eat it. I didn't eat. And by the time you get a cab or Uber or whatever in Vegas and get into your room,
yeah,
it's like 2 hours.
Yeah.
It's almost as long as the flight. Well, maybe not from here, but it feels like it is.
Yeah.
So I ended up realizing like I haven't eaten in like 24 hours. Holy cow. It is possible.
Yeah. Well, you shared some about that on Saturday. I heard you talking about that, about how the first time you did it, it was struggle for the first hour or so. And I had the same experience. But I'm going to commit, Frank, to also work up to that.
Awesome.
I've done it in the past and I've not. That's one of the reasons why my blood sugar is higher than yours is I've been doing a lousy job. So you were saying
zero?
Sorry, no. I think you suggested it to me, and yes, I think I do have it on my phone. I just haven't been using it.
Yeah. It makes you like, for me, one of the things I discovered through all of this, and I went to a doctor, and I love to have the doctor on the show and stuff like that, but
yeah,
as well as some other podcast ideas that we have, would be, I caught myself snacking a lot at night and I never realized it.
Yeah.
And with this saying, like, you know what, I'm going to eat, and I'm going to eat between this time and this time. Right.
Yeah.
And I caught myself doing that. And there's all sorts of things. You have to be careful. Most people can do kind of a 12-hour fast pretty easily.
Yeah.
Easily, in air quotes. If you go beyond like 24 hours, there's all sorts of electrolyte stuff you have to do to prep for it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
The longest I ever did was 36 hours. And I had chicken broth for dinner that night. I felt great. What I find myself, I get better results if I'm consistent. If I just say I'm going to do a 20-hour fast every day, and for a while I would do every day, but like one day, maybe Sunday, I felt great. Like, and my consistently would lose weight. My blood sugar would be completely flat. I kind of fell out of it over the holidays, my mistake. But I feel better already just getting back into it.
That's
for
great.
me personally. If I feel as the humidity shifts up and down and stuff like that, my migraines tend to be at risk. I've had cases where I could feel a migraine coming on, but I was fasting. It almost like it was like, it just did not have enough fuel to do it. And there's a whole thing, research that I've done, again, another sidetrack, on what blood sugar can do to migraines and how if they don't cause them, they definitely make them worse.
Interesting.
I have noticed that empirically in my life, but I'm not a doctor. If I were a doctor, I'd drive a much more expensive car. I want to. Sarah pointed this out. She was nice. You can check blood sugar so easily. So what's cool about this? I don't know if I've done a data point about it, but I really feel like I should.
I think you did. Your continuous glucose monitor.
Yeah, I have a CGM in my arm, and it only lasts for 2 weeks. So it's not like it's a permanent cyborg thing. But ultimately, I just swipe it with NFC on my phone, and I get my my blood sugar in real time. It tracks it, so I can kind of see the last 24 hours. I put this on last night. That gap there, it only has a 6-hour memory, which is kind of obnoxious, but it is what it is. Once you get enough data, you can kind of get patterns.
Okay.
At one point, you used to be able to download the raw CSV data from their website, but I think they might have changed that because I remember seeing a big backlash on that. But I mean, I did that, and you can have a lot of fun with that blood sugar data. Awesome. We got a comment from an anonymous LinkedIn user. Don't worry,
it's not their fault.
Who is it from?
Let me refresh here real quick.
It gets a
little lag.
I want to thank you by name for commenting.
It's Mena again. Thank you, Mena.
Oh, okay, thank you. Sometimes the connection between Restream and this works, sometimes it doesn't. But I actually have to get going to a meeting. I got some prep to do. But I want to thank you everyone for watching this live. I want to thank Andy for doing the impromptu joining. It's Casual Monday, I guess. Although I guess every and just stay strong. Today is going to hit you like a ton of bricks, but it's not, just get up and get going. And that was my inspirational message.
Great message.
Awesome. And you know what? Because I love motion graphics, I'm going to end the show, and I have to justify my expense on this. Here's the new Frank's World logo, by the way. So that's brand new.
That's
brand new.
nice.
It doesn't have music behind it yet. So, but this does have music. And with that, I will sign the show. And on the podcast, I'll say, let the nice British lady finish the show. All right. Thanks, Andy. Any parting words?
Frank. Nope. Thanks.
Cool.
Thanks for listening to Data Driven. We know you're busy and we appreciate you listening to our podcast. But we have a favor to ask. Please rate and review our podcast on iTunes, Amazon Music, Stitcher, or wherever you subscribe to us. You have subscribed to us? Haven't you? Having high ratings and reviews helps us improve the quality of our show and rank us more favorably with the search algorithms. That means more people listen to us, spreading the joy. And, can't the world use a little more joy these days? Now, go do your part to make the world just a little better and be sure to rate and review the show.